Oh my gosh! Let me turn my fan down a bit, guys. Guys, this morning I woke up with two ideas. One, what if... Well, I can't actually remember what that idea is. But the second idea is that it was such a great idea, it rivaled Isaac Newton discovering gravity. It was that good. It had me spend the better part of a day researching and putting together this video for you guys today. Because my idea, a film theory, you could say, is: are Bumblebee and the Iron Giant really the same movie? You guys are probably thinking, Joe, what is the Iron Giant? I know Bumblebee, but the Iron Giant? I don't know that one. It was a 1990s film, animated film, mixing computer generation or CGI with standard animation and having Vin Diesel as the voice of the Iron Giant. Banger movie. From the ages of 0 till now, it is still the #1 movie I have ever seen. It is that good. I recommend anyone who exists should watch it. It's that great. Now, when I was a mere 9 years old, I went out and I saw Bumblebee in theaters, and I thought to myself, this seems quite familiar. Sorry if I move my chair a lot, I just do that. This seems quite familiar, I thought to myself, and I realized, well, maybe they're similar to the Iron Giant. But that was a long time ago when I didn't have this channel. And the idea appeared to me now, and it just this morning. So, sorry, my camera is just shaking. So now I have come to propose my theory on why they're the same movie, and we're going to go through all my points. Starting with number 1. In the beginning of the Iron Giant is shown hurtling through space towards Earth. Now, when he finally arrives, he smashes down in the bay, or I guess ocean. I don't really know. I'm not big on geographical terms. He smashes down near the fictional town of Rockwell, Maine, while a man is fishing, but he's on a boat. I assumed he was fishing. He is being told to go look for the lighthouse because there is a raging storm he is in. As he is looking for the lighthouse, he believes he sees it until the light comes towards him, and it realizes there's 2 lights, being those of the giant's eyes. He crashes into the Iron Giant and looks up at him as the Iron Giant stares down, being absolutely massive. The Iron Giant's huge. He's probably taller than... Actually, you know what? He's big, but he's not... I'm not going to say that. He's huge. He's pretty big. Anyway, the Iron Giant stares down at him, and then eventually the waves take the man over his board and wash him up onto the shore. Now, in Bumblebee, we see Bumblebee crashing down from space after retreating from the Battle of Cybertron. I keep trying to say Krypton, but it's Cybertron. He crashes down on Earth, taking out multiple soldiers, while also standing up and kind of getting his surroundings, bearing his senses, while also not really scaring off because he follows him. He meets a general in the army that was playing a friendly game of paintball with his buddy. Now, we can already see 2 similarities here in maybe the first 10 minutes of each movie. Not even in the Iron Giant's case, that's the first 5 minutes of the movie. In Bumblebee, it takes a little bit longer, but the main similarities are that they're both aliens, they're both robots, they both arrive from space. Iron Giant, we don't really know his origins, but in a deleted scene you can look up, I believe on the DVD version, and I believe there was a updated version of the movie that came out that included this scene. In this deleted scene, it is shown that in one of the Iron Giant's dreams, it shows what he was made for. He was made to come and conquer the Earth along with hundreds upon thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands other Iron Giants. Bumblebee came to Earth to save the Earth. Well, not to save the Earth, but to preserve it, technically, until the other Autobots got there and they could make that a safe haven. Now, while you might think, well, they had 2 completely different reasons for being there, one thing throughout the movie is that the Iron Giant doesn't want violence. He wants to be peaceful. They both want peace. So that's immediately 3 points we can knock onto the board. They both arrive from space, off planet, like aliens. They're both robots. I guess this is 4 points. They're both robots. They are there to keep peace. And the last point is they both encounter a human who make their existence known, being that of the fisherman and that of the general in Bumblebee. So that is just the first section we can talk about. The second section I want to talk about is immediately the first person to discover the robots are young children. In the Iron Giant hides out in a forest until one day a young Hogarth Hughes, while home alone, is watching TV, and then it starts to go out. This is, I think, 19. I don't actually know. It's during the Cold War. This is during Cold War era, and that's actually a big part of the movie. Young Hogarth Hughes is home alone, and he's watching TV until the signal goes out. So he goes up to investigate to discover the antenna has been ripped off their roof. And he shines a light down, and he sees massive footprints leading into the forest. He gears up and grabs his BB gun before heading into the forest to investigate. Upon arrival, he finds he finds the Iron Giant. He finds a ginormous robot getting ready to go eat metal. Now, unfortunately, this metal was part of the power grid, so it shocks the Iron Giant and sends him back, becoming electrocuted on the power lines. It is only when Hogarth saves him by shutting down the power grid that the Iron Giant is saved. He kind of passes out and then wakes back up, and Hogarth runs, and his mom finds him while he's in the forest. Now, we look at Bumblebee. Bumblebee was turned into a WB Beetle. What is it called? VW Beetle, Volkswagen Beetle, or just a Beetle. He's turned into a Beetle, and young Charlie, I think she's a teenager, I'm going to say young anyways, she finds him in a car lot while working at this kind of auto repair shop. She finds him, she says, oh, if I can get him started, then he's mine. And the guy who runs this place says, sure. So she gets to keep it, and is only when she is fixing up this Beetle, when she brings it home, after getting it to start, she discovers that Bumblebee is inside it. He transforms out of the car and into his standing self and reveals himself to Charlie. Now he's also scared because he has amnesia due to a fight with another Decepticon that left his memory cells destroyed and his vocal cords, so he can't talk. So already there as well, we can already see two similarities, or a few. I'm not going to say specific numbers because I always come up with more when I'm doing these. I don't have a script. I'm just kind of freestyling. We can already see a couple similarities. One, like I said, they're both being met by a young child, and they only reveal themselves to that kid. Hogarth's mom does not see the robot, and no one else in Charlie's family does see Bumblebee. Real quick, also, I said the Iron Giant had become electrocuted. Now, also, later in Bumblebee, the movie, he does eventually get electrocuted. In fact, multiple times. He does it, I believe, twice. Once by sticking his finger, like a metal piece, into a socket, which causes an energon surge. But a minute or two later in the same scene, he is running away with Charlie, which we'll talk about more later. He's running away from these military people. Officers, and they eventually bring him down via these electric guns. They're kind of really big tasers, is essentially. They stick onto him and they electrocute him. There's more on that later, but I want to get to that later. But we can also see that they're both brought down by electricity. I just thought that was kind of an interesting idea. I don't know if it means anything. I just thought that was a weird coincidence. Real quick, so the similarities. Both found by kids. No one else sees them except the kids they find. And third, they both are electrocuted. That is just kind of a separate point, but one that I think that is important. So they both are brought down via electricity, which is an interesting point. Skip forward a bit. The military is now on the lookout for both of these robots in the Iron Giant. The fisherman who first saw the Iron Giant called the FBI and told them, hey, there's a giant robot out here. Now, this, of course, scares the U.S. government, as well, it's during the Cold War, so they don't know what's possible. They think it might be from a rival country. So they send out Kent Mansley. He is a detective and the kind of antagonist of this movie. He begins to start looking for the giant while Hogarth and him maintain their bond and grow together. Now, while Kent Mansley is looking for them, he ends up moving into Hogarth's house to try and get details after letting something. I think after Hogarth let something slip. Now, in Bumblebee, the general works with the government and other Decepticons that have shown up on Earth to try and find Bumblebee. So we can already see another thing is the military is looking for them, and these kids are the only thing protecting them. Those are the only people they know. Now, also, so we get to there later, and another main point is that another friend is introduced into the story. In the Iron Giant, the Iron Giant eats metal. Now, of course, where would you find metal? Of course, in a junkyard. So they see an ad for a junkyard, him and Hogarth, and they decide to go down to this junkyard to let the Iron Giant eat whatever he wants. He begins eating, and it's only until he chomps on a car when its alarm goes off does he start freaking out. He literally yeets this car like hundreds and hundreds of feet, landing behind a like the old bomb shelters, the round ones, kind of look like barn silos, something like that. He throws it behind there, and that is where Dean lives. Now, Dean McCoppin is the man who owns this junkyard, and he is already a friend of Hogarth's. As earlier in the film, he helped his mom in a tough situation while she was at work at a diner. So him and Hogarth are already friends, so they get to talking, and he introduces Dean to the robot, and he asks him if he can let the robot stay, and Dean says yes for the night. Eventually, Dean and the Iron Giant do grow, and he continues to stay there for a long time, even evading military capture when he pretends that the Iron Giant is just a ginormous piece of art for his collection. Now, in Bumblebee, Charlie is discovered with Bumblebee by her neighbor named Memo. It's a very strange name. He works at the same fair she works at, and he continues trying to talk to her while she's at work, and she just kind of doesn't notice. And he finally goes to her house, and he opens the door, and he sees Bumblebee while he's in the garage. And she tells him, hey, you can't tell anyone about this. And so they begin, all three of them, growing, together and hanging out, but also keeping Bumblebee a secret. So that's a lot shorter. That's a way easier, shorter way of describing that. There's more to it. Eventually, Memo, Charlie, and Bumblebee are all doing all sorts of things. They escape the police by... Actually, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. They escape the police when they're running away from them because they were speeding. They also kind of take revenge on a not nice character, not really an antagonist, just not a good person that was being extremely rude to Charlie, and all sorts of other things. So here we can also see some main points. One, a new friend that has a previous connection to our main character is shown to show up. They help keep the alien a secret, and that friend does eventually help get them away from the police. I mean, you could say Memo really didn't help because it was all Bumblebee, but he was still there. I don't know. I'm gonna count that. Now we get to military capture. This is a big point because this is where I saw a lot of similarities. Now, eventually, a lot of time has passed in this movie that I am not going over, but basically, Dean, Hogarth, and the Iron Giant are all hanging out, and what happens is the Iron Giant and Hogarth are playing, and Hogarth... Oh, and Superman... Sorry, I get messed up with this. The Iron Giant finds this S from an old seafood restaurant sign. He puts it on his chest, and he pretends to be Superman. And Hogarth is playing with him, and he's pretending to be like an alien, and he pulls out like a little toy gun, and he points at the giant, and he's pretending shooting him. Now, there's a problem with this. As the Iron Giant has shown, he has sort of a weird reaction to guns. He saw a hunter's rifle earlier when they encountered some hunters on accident, and when seeing the gun, his eyes turned really small and really red. And there's something to say about that. Maybe he was going a lot of people thought he was being angry because you get like tunnel vision, your eyes, everything becomes red. I've heard people debate that as well, but I don't think that's what it is. I think that's just part of his design, which I really like. He sees Hogarth with the gun. His eyes go really small, way faster this time, and you can see inside his systems this time. And he's locking onto Hogarth, and he shoots at him with like eye lasers. It's crazy. And also, real quick, there's a lot of ties between the Iron Giant and Superman, including the eye lasers, which I just mentioned. And there's a lot of ties, but I'm not going over that in this video. I can do a separate video on that if I wanted to. Now, the Iron Giant shoots at Hogarth. He misses because Hogarth ducks. He had enough time to get away, but Dean tells the Iron Giant to go. He's a gun. He can't be around people because he's meant to kill. He's meant to hurt. He's meant to harm. This, of course, makes Iron Giant feel really bad because he doesn't want to be a gun. Like I've said, he wants peace. When he landed, he has a dent in his head, and it kind of makes him forget a lot of things, which is why that deleted scene is so important, and I think that's why it needs to be in, because it shows something that's really necessary, is understanding where he came from. Like, I guess some people say it takes away from the mystery, but I really enjoy that they took that time to kind of explain his backstory slightly, that he's from another planet, but he's also manufactured to go and conquer planets, like the Viltrumites, maybe. And that means that there's maybe even bigger or smaller aliens out there that are manufacturing these things, which, like, there's a whole bunch of backstory you can go into, but I really enjoy that. But he doesn't want to be a gun, so he goes away, and Hogarth's like, hey, I gotta get the Giant back because we can't let him see this. And he's friends with the Giant. He eventually tracks down the Giant as he saved 2 kids from falling off a bridge, or falling off of a building in the town as they're looking at the Giant. They start falling, and the Iron Giant sees them, and he runs, and he catches them, which I don't know how that works, because if his hand is metal, they would essentially just be, like, hitting the ground. So I don't know how they didn't die unless he, like, cradled them. So, like, as they're coming down, and then he kind of cradled them. But it doesn't look like that. I don't know. I'm no physics major, so you let me know down in the comments. After that, Hogarth finds him with Dean and his mom, and Hogarth's mom. Hogarth's mom now sees the Giant. All the townspeople see the Giant, but unfortunately, that also means the military, who were on their way out of town after not finding anything. The military turned back around, and somehow, incredibly fast, they have set up a whole, like, attack formation. I don't know how. It's crazy. But Iron Giant is shot in the back with a cannon of sorts, I think from a tank or something, maybe. And he's holding Hogarth in his hand at the time. He's shot in the back and is opened fire on by multiple guns and everything. So he starts to run. And Dean is trying to get all these army men to stop because he told them something. He says, this is really important. He goes, when he sees guns, he doesn't want to fight back. It's a defense mechanism. He's not fighting back or retaliating like he did with Hogarth because he wants to hurt someone. He's doing it because he feels like in danger, almost. It's a defense mechanism. So he eventually falls off a cliff, and it's discovered now he can fly. He's like jet boosters, so he's holding Hogarth and they're flying through the skies, and he's shielding Hogarth from like all the jet guns and stuff. They don't know Hogarth's with him until Kent Mansley tells him, he's like, yeah, he killed the kid. So he's pretending that Hogarth is already dead. Just anything to get rid of the Giant. Now, here, eventually these 2 fighter jets are flying around with the Giant, and his defense mechanisms keep turning back on, because he's trying to attack the fighter jets, but he keeps covering them, and he's like, no, I don't want to attack these people. Until eventually they think they got away, and the army shoots them out of the sky with a bullet, like a ginormous shell or something, just boom, and they get knocked out of the sky. And then the Iron Giant crashes through all these trees. He crashes, and then he's kind of looking around, and we're actually going to stop there. He crashes, and he has been captured technically by the military. Now, in Bumblebee, like I said, he sticks his finger in an outlet and it gives him an energon surge. And it's shown by not just blue electricity going through him, but green. And that is with the energon. I know energon's normally blue, but like they showed it kind of as green in this movie. Now, when that happens, when his energon surge happens, the Decepticons pick up on it as they've been using human technology as well, and they're able to pick up where it's coming from, and so does the army. So they travel to where it came from to go find him, and then uh, basically they're found, and Bumblebee takes Charlie with him, and they start running. So him and Charlie, they're running, eventually until they're cut off by not only the military, but both the Decepticons that were tracking them. I don't remember their names. I believe one of them's name is Shatter. Oh, Shatter and Dropkick. Those were their names. Shatter and Dropkick. And then the other one was Blitzwing that he killed in the beginning. Eventually, they're found by the Decepticons, and like I said, the Bumblebee is taken down by essentially giant tasers. Once again, electricity, which I thought was an interesting point. Now, once he's brought down, another point is Charlie goes to try and help him, and eventually is electrocuted and passes out. That is important for one reason, because when the Iron Giant finds Hogarth after he crashes, he looks like Hogarth's dead. He thinks he killed Hogarth, and he's just like devastated by that. You see him like displaying almost like human emotions, sadness and almost grief, which is crazy because he was meant to be a weapon of killing, and he's developing these things that make humans human, which is a really interesting point. And so real quickly, I'm going to go through those points real quick. Basically, during the militia capture, not only were they, once again, both, well, I guess Iron Giant was electrocuted. I'm going to bring that point up again. Both were fatal to electricity. They both, and they were both almost sent away by the kids. Charlie sends Bumblebee away, kind of. She sends him back into the garage because he accidentally destroyed her house. And Dean, one of the characters, sends him away because then Dean also sends the giant away. So they're both sent away by the humans they were making friends with. They're sent away by the humans. Then, another point, they are chased by the military and eventually are both shot down or captured and also harm the human they're with. So that's 4 points right there you can go through. And the last bit I want to talk about, I guess there's two last bits, but I think I'm going to go over them in one big thing, and that's Endgame. I'm just calling these chapters, whatever. This is the Endgame section. So essentially, they both end up sacrificing themselves for the greater good. And in the Iron Giant, basically what happens is after being shot down by the military and then being and then shot down crashing, and he finds Hogarth, he's devastated because he thinks he's killed Hogarth, and that's the one thing he didn't want to do. Above all, he felt connected to Hogarth, and that's what's crazy. Now, when he finds him, the military somehow, I don't know how they chased him down this fast, but they somehow roll up on the Iron Giant, and he's sitting there, he's devastated. And I'll insert a clip real quick after I'm finished explaining this section. Just because it's such a powerful scene. I love it so much that it's just one of my favorite scenes in a movie of all time. Basically, they're like, okay, well, the giant is still alive, and once again, Kent Mansley freaks out. He goes, hey, open fire, shoot at it. And they start, once again, they're just unloading shells onto the giant, and that's when you can see his dent get fixed, and all of his weapons come back online. And he remembers how to do everything, and he starts shooting at these military men, and he has all these high-tech weapons they can't compete with, and they start running because he turns into what he was meant to be, which is a gun, his full weapon form. So they start running away because they have no way of dealing with that. They end up running away, and then Hogarth wakes up because he's not dead, and he's like, we gotta get to the giant. That's the only way we're gonna be able to fix this. So Dean and his mom get in the truck, and they're following the giant. The giant eventually makes it to the shoreline, where there's naval boats out in the ocean, and they're firing at him, and they keep hitting him, which that seems like a really bad idea since this is still a populated town. Like, it's a small town, but it's still populated. They're firing into it. It just seems strange. Eventually, he starts charging this like what we think of like as a nuclear bomb. It's really hard to explain. He charges one in his chest. There's like a section of his chest that like can generate bombs, and he's about to shoot it at this boat until Hogarth stops him, and he kind of takes his attention away, just literally shifts him ever so slightly, and it fires the bomb away. And you see it, and it's just this massive explosion of like green and blue, like radioactive energy almost. But it doesn't create a mushroom cloud. It doesn't create anything. It's almost detectable, which is crazy. But I believe it was a kind of a variation of another weapon he showed, where he basically shot this ball of energy in the clip I showed you, where it kind of like sucked it up and then closed, and the thing that he shot it at that encapsulated it wasn't there anymore. I think that's kind of what that is. Just a bigger version of it, which I think is very interesting.
It's still alive! Shoot at it!
He's unconscious, but he's okay. Let's get him in the car.
Drive, baby, drive! Step on it! Florence, idiots! Faster, faster, faster! All battleships fire at the robot! Now! Nothing can stop this thing! We've hit it with everything we've got!
Not everything, General. The bomb. The Nautilus has first strike capability and is not far offshore.
You scare me, Mansley. You want us to bomb ourselves in order to kill it?
General, the giant seems to follow whatever attacks it. We can lure it away from the town, then destroy it.
Radio the Nautilus. Tell them to target the robot and await my command.
This is Nautilus. What is the Giant's current position?
67.719 or 72 degrees west by 44.50177 degrees north.
Locked and loaded.
Oh, my baby, I'm so sorry.
Stop the car.
Hogarth, oh my God, honey, you're all
Go
right.
back. We've got to help him.
Are you crazy, kid? You're lucky to be alive. We're taking you to a hospital.
Hold up there! Everyone, out of the car! We have to evacuate the
What are you
area!
talking about? We gotta get this boy to a hospital.
What boy?
Hogarth!
Hogarth, no!
Hey, no!
This is General Rogard. Ready the attack and prepare to retreat to the fallback position.
No! No! Stop! My son is out there!
No, wait, it's me! Hogarth, remember? It's bad to kill. Guns kill. And you don't have to be a gun. You are what you choose to be. You choose. Choose. good.
And then Kent Mansley orders them to launch a nuke on it, even though he's been proven to be a friendly. And Kent Mansley tries to get away, but they stop him. They're like, "Hey, you're the cause of all this." And the town is just sent into like a frenzy because they're like, "Wow, we're gonna die. There's a nuke coming. We don't have enough time to get away," because they're sending it into the town. So they fire the nuke, and the giant tells Hogarth, he's like, "Hey," I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say this, but he's like, "Hey, I need to go fix this." So he flies up into space and shoots. He basically collides with the missile while it's in space, in just a really cool scene. And just you see it in space, just a ginormous explosion. And then eventually he is turned into a statue once they want to remember him. And the military gives Hogarth a piece of the giant they found, a screw that went in his jaw plate. And so Hogarth's like, okay, he puts on his bedside table, goes to bed, and that night it starts blinking this blue light, and it starts rolling around and rolls out of his window, and he tells it goodbye. Because earlier, this is a part I didn't mention, earlier in the movie, when Hogarth and him are first hanging out, he accidentally picks up this train track because it's metal, and he tries to eat it. And Hogarth tells him, hey, you need to put that back, and there's a train coming, so he's got to put it back fast. And Hogarth's he basically puts it down like pretty close to where it was. And Hogarth's like, yeah, that's good enough. We gotta go. And the Iron Giant sees it and goes, that's not good enough. This train will crash. So he's trying to line it up perfectly, and he finally does, but the train hits him. And the conductor is someone who Kent Mansley eventually interviews, but the train hits the giant, and he's just broken into all these pieces, these different pieces. The Hogarth thinks he killed him, but it's shown that the Iron Giant has a beacon in his head that allows all his parts to come back together so he can rebuild himself with alien technology, which is really cool. And basically that screw travels to, I believe, Iceland, where the Iron Giant's head is, and it's shown he's still alive and he's rebuilding himself. And that's the end of the movie. Real quick, I only have 30 minutes I can upload, so I'm going to stop this recording and start a new one, and we're going to continue our conversation. Now, so in Bumblebee, basically, after Bumblebee is captured, he is tortured by the two Decepticons in Sector 7, while one human watches. He is named Dr. Powell. He has been working with the Decepticons this whole time, marveling at their technology. Now, Charlie and Memo somehow find Sector 7. I know it's supposed to be a military base, so I don't know necessarily how she found him. Doesn't make no sense. But basically, she finds Bumblebee and discovers him getting beaten up and tortured until they find out that Bumblebee doesn't remember anything, so they shoot him in the face. It is very brutal and seems to kill Bumblebee before they also kill Powell because he knew too much. He alerts the general, though, that the Decepticons are evil, and basically the general still thinks that they are at Sector 7, so he sends a group of soldiers and himself to go check out Sector 7. When he gets there, though, Shatter and Dropkick have already left, but Charlie and Memo are still trying to get Bee to get up. They keep trying to revive him, with Charlie ending up grabbing all the big taser guns and shooting him with them, trying to jumpstart him. It does eventually work, and Bumblebee gets up before the door is blasted open with C4, and the general gets to Bumblebee and Charlie. They shoot Bumblebee with harpoon guns and start to drag him backwards, to which he can do nothing. He is too weak. Eventually, he is watching Charlie as Charlie fights the general, as she's trying to get him to understand that Bumblebee is the good guy, and he doesn't believe her, so he shoves her off, hurting her kind of. And Bumblebee sees this, and his eyes go red, and he has a mask that kind of goes over his face when he's in combat mode, similar to how the Iron Giant's eyes go red and slim, and his body changes once he's in combat mode. He turns around, slices off the harpoon guns with a built-in sword in his arm, and begins to blow up and shoot all the vehicles before Charlie gets to him and stands in front of the gun, placing a lot of trust into Bumblebee, and that is when Bumblebee stops and reverts back to his original self. Eventually, he goes and fights the Decepticons with killing one of them pretty much almost instantly after a pretty cool battle. And then eventually fighting the other one. The general shows up in a helicopter and I think it was a helicopter, and he's shooting at one of the Decepticons. But the Decepticon shoots his plane down, but he lives, I'm pretty sure. And Bumblebee ends up fighting, I believe it's Dropkick, and eventually gets to a point where he kind of has to sacrifice himself. He holds, I believe, one of the Decepticons while he broke a wall that had a lot of water, so all this water is coming like a wave, like a really big wave, and he's basically holding that Decepticon there, so she gets hit by it. She dies, and Bumblebee is kind of like, I don't know if he passes out maybe, but he's kind of like sinking. Somehow Charlie brings him back up or gets him to get up. She like dives down and gets him to get up, and they both survive. And that's really the end of that movie. He ends up linking up with Optimus Prime as they watch the other Autobots arrive to Earth. And that is the end of Bumblebee. Now, these last couple points I want to talk about are all some things. These were the main things that solidified what I thought made the movies so similar. So we're going to start with military capture. Both, of course, captured by the military, and in doing so, hurt their human companions. And once they saw that their human companions were hurt, that's when they went into combat mode. That is when they threw basically everything out the window, just because they were so angry they wanted to defend their human counterparts, or companions, sorry, not counterparts. Another point is their transformations. They both transform into something different when they are angry, when they are confronted, and that is basically what they did. The Iron Giant, you see his transformation. I'll throw up a picture real quick. He turns into this not giant, he's already giant. He turns into something different, something meant to hurt, harm, and kill, like I said. Bumblebee, not as much. He basically looks the same. He gets his combat mask and his sword and his gun. He already kind of had all of that. They both turn into something different to fight. That isn't what they are, it's just what they become. And then another point is, one thing I thought was interesting is, yes, both kids stop the robot from inducing any more pain, but also one interesting thing I saw is they both stand in front of the gun. I'm pretty sure. I saw Bumblebee today, but some of the details are a bit foggy. I just don't have the greatest memory. I'm pretty sure she stands in front of the gun, and that is one similarity I saw. Is they both stand in front of the thing of a gun, and they put all their trust into this alien that they've grown such a strong bond with, which I think that's a really interesting point. Final points is eventually, in the last point, they both end up kind of sacrificing themselves. One of them doesn't. Bumblebee doesn't do it as much, but he still does take a hit because he knew it had to be for the greater good. And the Iron Giant literally blows himself up for this town. So they both end up sacrificing themselves in the end for the greater good, yet they both come back. So that is really all the points I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was something that I really thought was important, and I thought people needed to hear about. And there's some other Iron Giant videos I have loaded up, just a short, and I believe if you guys want to see the Superman versus Iron Giant comparison, I can do that one as well. Hope this one piqued your interest. Hope you go, if you have not seen the Iron Giant, go watch the Iron Giant. If you haven't seen Bumblebee, go see Bumblebee, but the Iron Giant is the better movie. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today, guys, and if you want to see anything else like this, just let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.